200 million years ago, the world belonged to giants. The ground trembled beneath the footsteps of dinosaurs. Towering volcanoes shaped the landscape. The continents were still joined together as one enormous landmass. There were no cities, no humans, no birds singing in the trees. Even flowers had not yet appeared. Earth was almost unrecognizable. Yet among those ancient forests stood a tree that would witness every major chapter in the history of life on our planet. It watched dinosaurs rise to power. It watched them disappear forever. It survived an asteroid that erased nearly 75% of all living species. It endured ice ages that buried continents beneath sheets of ice. It survived diseases, changing climates, and even one of the most destructive weapons humanity has ever created. Today, you can still stand beneath that same tree. Scientists call it one of the greatest survivors in Earth's history. Its name is Ginkgo biloba. But surviving for more than 200 million years isn't luck. Every survivor has an enemy. For the ginkgo tree, its enemy was time itself. For more than 200 million years, time has tried to erase it. Again and again. Yet somehow, it refused to disappear. How? To answer that question, we have to travel back to a world that no longer exists. More than 200 million years ago, Earth looked nothing like it does today. Instead of 7 continents, there was one enormous supercontinent known as Pangaea. The climate was warmer than today, and the atmosphere contained far more carbon dioxide. Dense forests stretched across the landscape, but they were unlike any forests we know. Flowers had not yet evolved. Instead, giant conifers, ancient ferns, cycads, and horsetails dominated the land. Among them grew the ancestors of today's ginkgo tree. Back then, ginkgo was not rare. It flourished across vast regions of the northern hemisphere. Its distinctive fan-shaped leaves captured sunlight just as they do today, while its roots anchored it through storms that had already shaped Earth for millions of years. Then came the dinosaurs. Massive plant eaters wandered through these forests every day. Towering sauropods reached high into the canopy. Armored dinosaurs pushed through dense vegetation. Predators stalked silently beneath the trees. Generation after generation, the ancestors of ginkgo remained. While countless animals appeared and disappeared, the forests endured. If trees could remember, the ginkgo would remember the footsteps of giants. For tens of millions of years, life seemed almost permanent. The forests thrived. Dinosaurs ruled every continent. Nothing suggested this remarkable age would ever end. Then everything changed. A mountain-sized asteroid slammed into Earth near what is now Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. The impact unleashed unimaginable energy. Violent earthquakes rippled across the planet. Towering tsunamis swept over coastlines. Wildfires ignited forests thousands of miles away. But the greatest danger came after the explosion. Dust, ash, and vapor filled the atmosphere, blocking sunlight for months. Temperatures dropped dramatically. Photosynthesis nearly stopped. Plants began to die. Without plants, herbivores starved. Without herbivores, predators soon followed. In an astonishingly short period of time, nearly 75% of Earth's species vanished. The age of dinosaurs came to an end. For most living things, there was no escape. Yet hidden among the devastation, one ancient survivor endured. Not because it was stronger than every other plant. Not because it grew faster. But because millions of years of evolution had quietly prepared it for catastrophe. Scientists still debate exactly why the ginkgo survived while so many ancient plants disappeared. Its ability to recover from damage, tolerate harsh conditions, and persist through environmental extremes likely gave it an advantage when the world collapsed around it. The asteroid was not the end of its story. In many ways, it was only the beginning. As the planet slowly healed, mammals began spreading across the Earth. Birds filled the skies. Flowering plants transformed forests with colors the world had never seen before. Many species evolved rapidly to match their changing environments. The ginkgo did something remarkable. It barely changed at all. Scientists have compared fossilized ginkgo leaves that are more than 170 million years old with leaves growing today. The resemblance is extraordinary. The elegant fan shape, the delicate branching veins, even the overall structure remains almost identical. That is why scientists often call ginkgo a living fossil. Not because it stopped evolving completely, but because its design proved so successful that very little needed to change. It had already become one of nature's greatest survivors. Then another challenge arrived. This time, the enemy was not a sudden catastrophe. It came slowly, patiently, relentlessly. Roughly 2.5 million years ago, Earth entered a series of ice ages. Massive glaciers advanced across the northern hemisphere. Year after year, they swallowed forests beneath endless walls of ice. Habitats disappeared. Temperatures fell. Rainfall patterns shifted. Entire ecosystems collapsed. Many plants simply could not move fast enough to survive the advancing glaciers. The ginkgo family, once spread across enormous regions, slowly disappeared. Species after species vanished until only one remained: the modern ginkgo. Scientists believe its natural range eventually shrank to a few isolated valleys in eastern China. A tree that had survived the asteroid that ended the dinosaurs was now fighting an even quieter battle against climate itself. Its world grew smaller with every passing millennium. Had those last surviving populations disappeared, the story of ginkgo would have ended forever. Instead, history took an unexpected turn. And this time, nature was not the hero. Human beings were. For centuries, hidden among the mountains of China, Buddhist monks planted ginkgo trees around temples and monasteries. To them, the tree represented endurance, peace, and a long life. Every autumn, its brilliant golden leaves reminded them that change is inevitable, yet life continues. Generation after generation, they protected these remarkable trees. They gathered their seeds. They planted new saplings. They cared for them with extraordinary patience. The monks never imagined they were preserving one of Earth's oldest living lineages. Without realizing it, they became the guardians of a species that had survived since the age of dinosaurs. Some of those ancient temple trees are still alive today. Their trunks are enormous. Their bark is deeply furrowed. Their branches reach skyward like living monuments to history. Many are believed to be more than 1,000 years old. Think about everything those trees have witnessed: the rise and fall of kingdoms, the invention of paper, the compass, gunpowder, the printing press, the Industrial Revolution, the birth of modern cities, airplanes crossing the skies, the digital age. While human civilization transformed beyond recognition, the ginkgo remained almost unchanged, quietly observing the passing centuries. Eventually, explorers and botanists introduced ginkgo to the rest of the world. Its unusual leaves and extraordinary history fascinated scientists. Botanical gardens planted it. Cities lined their streets with it. For the first time in thousands of years, the ancient survivor began expanding its range once again. It seemed its struggle against extinction was finally over. But history had prepared one final test. Not from nature, from humanity itself. On the morning of August 6, 1945, the city of Hiroshima awoke like any other day. People opened their shops. Children prepared for school. Streetcars moved through busy streets. Then, at exactly 8:15 in the morning, a blinding flash changed history forever. An atomic bomb exploded above the city. Within seconds, buildings collapsed. Temperatures soared to unimaginable levels. Fire consumed entire neighborhoods. Many believed nothing living could survive so close to the explosion. Months later, as survivors slowly returned to rebuild their city, something astonishing happened. From the charred trunk of a badly burned tree, tiny green shoots began to emerge. Then more appeared. The tree was alive. It was a ginkgo. Several ginkgo trees growing near the blast survived one of the most destructive events ever created by humanity. Scarred but living. Even today, those trees continue to grow in Hiroshima. They are carefully protected as symbols of resilience, hope, and renewal. After surviving dinosaurs, after surviving an asteroid, after surviving ice ages, the ginkgo had survived humanity's darkest moment. Naturally, scientists wanted to understand why. Part of the answer lies beneath its bark. Unlike many trees, ginkgo possesses dormant buds that can remain inactive for years. If branches are damaged by storms, fire, or disease, those hidden buds can awaken and produce entirely new growth. It is a built-in survival system, always prepared for disaster. Its wood naturally resists many insects and fungal diseases. Its roots anchor it securely in difficult environments. Its leaves contain protective compounds that help the tree cope with environmental stress. Unlike many species, ginkgo also tolerates pollution remarkably well. Heat, cold, compact soil, poor air quality, even road salt. Conditions that damage many trees often have surprisingly little effect on ginkgo. That is why it lines streets in cities across the world, from Asia to Europe and North America. For a species that has already survived multiple mass extinctions, modern cities are simply another environment to adapt to. Its remarkable biology also inspired another question. If this tree protects itself so effectively, could some of its natural compounds also benefit people? For centuries, traditional Chinese medicine used ginkgo leaves for various purposes. Modern researchers began studying those traditional practices using rigorous scientific methods. They discovered that ginkgo leaves contain flavonoids and terpenoids, natural compounds with antioxidant properties that help protect cells from oxidative stress. Researchers also found that standardized ginkgo extracts may improve blood flow by helping blood vessels relax. These findings generated enormous interest around the world. Some clinical studies have reported modest benefits for certain people living with dementia or age-related cognitive decline. Other studies have investigated possible effects on circulation and anxiety. However, scientists also emphasize an important point. Promise is not the same as proof. For healthy adults, there is little convincing evidence that ginkgo dramatically boosts memory or intelligence. It is not a miracle cure. And because it can interact with medications, particularly blood thinners, it should always be used with appropriate medical guidance. This is one of the greatest lessons science continues to teach us. Nature offers remarkable possibilities. Careful research reveals which of those possibilities truly become medicine. So how did one tree survive for more than 200 million years? Not through luck. Not through magic. Not by overpowering everything around it. The ginkgo survived because it mastered resilience. While the world changed, it preserved what already worked. While ecosystems collapsed, it quietly endured. Today, when brilliant golden ginkgo leaves drift through city streets each autumn, most people simply admire their beauty. Few realize they are looking at the descendants of trees that shaded dinosaurs. Living witnesses to asteroid impacts. Survivors of ice ages. Guardians of one of the longest continuous stories in the history of life on Earth. Continents have drifted apart. Empires have risen and fallen. Entire species have disappeared forever. Yet the ginkgo still stands. Not as a relic trapped in the past, but as living proof that survival is not always about being the biggest, the fastest, or the strongest. Sometimes, survival belongs to those who can endure. Those who adapt without losing their foundation. those who refuse to give up. Perhaps that is why the ginkgo continues to inspire scientists, historians, and nature lovers around the world. Its story is more than the history of a tree. It is the history of resilience itself. Thank you for joining us on this journey through deep time. If you enjoy discovering the extraordinary stories hidden within nature, history, and science, be sure to subscribe and join us for our next adventure. Because every remarkable plant has a story, and we have only just begun to tell them.